Good morning, everybody. My name's Michael Long. Now, some of you guys probably watch the news. Some of you guys probably don't. I know most people probably do. Um, there is there is this provision that stalled in the Senate, and it's the Protect IP Act. Um, and what it really is a treaty drafted up by the United Nations, the UN, if you will. And of course, since it's a treaty, it was now this was given to our president, who has introduced it to the Senate. And because it's a treaty, it has to be ratified by the Senate, but it doesn't have to go through the bill and the House and the the House of Representatives and the House committees, and then the Senate committees and all this other stuff, as opposed to an actual bill. Um, but nonetheless, it's a very dangerous provision, and if passed, it will be it's a program that will be run by the United Nations, and the UN will have authority over this program. If drafted, it passed by the U.S. Senate, it could dramatically affect the United States. Now, some people think, well, it's it's uh, it's 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 a copyright infringement. Something has to do with protecting copyright and copyright owners and this and that. But it's much deeper than that. And well, it generally states in this provision, and it's really completely unconstitutional for this provision to be brought up. It's unconstitutional all the way around. Um, but anyways, you know, it's completely unconstitutional and it's completely utter nonsense. But once passed, it'll give the federal government, and they'll be overseen if it passes by the United Nations, authority to remove content, websites, videos, anything that they see or feel is offensive. And this isn't just, and really, how do you define offensive? I mean, it's complete and utter nonsense. And to put it into further perspective, this is something that is completely unconstitutional. It's complete utter nonsense, and it's something that the that has currently stalled in the Senate. And even the Campaign for Liberty has came out, posted, and they've made several articles on their website about it. The Constitution Party opposes it, and as do a lot of organizations and so forth. This is it's unconstitutional and it should not be permitted. And that's why various organizations, including the Campaign for Liberty, have come up with petitions on their websites that you can sign to petition it. But let me just state that people want to sit here and talk about, well, we need speech laws and this and that to protect people that are in favor of gay marriage and illegal immigration or this thing or that thing. Well, first of all, most of them could probably defend themselves. And most of them can defend themselves. So they don't need government, especially the federal government, to then protect them. Okay? If there's any form of people that ought to be protected by any level of government, whether it be the federal level, the federal government, or the state government, or the local government, it should be those that can't defend themselves or don't have the capabilities to defend themselves. And even then, if you want to go about doing that, you would have to amend the U.S. Constitution. And even then, that would have to go through the all these House committees, and then the full House, and the Senate, and the Senate committees, and then the Senate subcommittees, and then once passed, if passed, it would then have to be signed by the President of the United States, and because it's a amendment, it then has to go to the states to be ratified, which means, and then it has to, if it goes to the states, it has to go through the state assemblies, then the state senate, then the governors have to sign it, and in each state, and on and on. It's a 10 to 20 year long process. So I don't even see why you would want to worry about it. I mean, apart from that, there is a provision and we don't, as of now, we really don't have the authority to deal with this issue under the U.S. Constitution, because as the 10th Amendment clearly states, the powers not delegated are to be left to the states or to the people. And so if you want the federal government to have some form of regulation on freedom of speech, it should be severely restricted and solely for the purpose of protecting those that can't defend themselves. And often many of them are mentally and or physically disabled. But it seems like there's various groups that think that, gay marriage and people that are for illegal immigration and this and that and the other thing, and they want the protection from people who they think are going after them and saying, well, making threatening speeches and death threats and all that stuff. Well, if they can defend themselves, they don't need to be protected by government. It should be those that can't defend themselves that should have some form of protection under the federal government and any other level of government in the United States. Should there be any protection, and I don't think that such protections and laws should be made unless the Constitution, the U.S. Constitution, was amended for such a purpose. And people say, well, it's crazy talk and stuff like that. But let me just state, the federal government does not have the authority to dictate to people in terms of what to think, how to think, what to say, and what not. So, it's pathetic. You have 6 states, including New York State, that came out and said they legalized gay marriage. But the question is, that's really against the First Amendment, because the federal government, the local governments, the county governments, the state governments, the county government, no level of government has any authority to regulate anything that has anything to do with religion. As stated in the First Amendment, all levels of government, you cannot be dictated by any level of government, and so it is solely up to the states. I mean, this is a religious issue, and you have these states that legalized marriage equality. Is it really, is it though really, within the First Amendment? No. But if we're going to have anything to say about gay marriage or things like that, it should be at the state level. But again, this IP Act, if you speak out against gay marriage or fruity and tooty or open borders, illegal immigration, what have you, they may turn, or all it would take is one guy that is in favor of illegal immigration and all that to say, well, this guy offended me. And if the government wants to side with him and sees what the kind of things that you say is that they feel is hate speech, you can turn around and say, we're gonna abolish your website or video, what have you. And so it really doesn't have to be about who owns the content and what have you. I think that is a small fraction of what this IP Act is about. And I think if anybody's gonna oppose it, I think if people are gonna oppose it, they should oppose it on principle and not on anything else. And again, I'm not saying that it's right or it's wrong, but it is unconstitutional. And anyways, my name's Michael Long, and thank you for joining. Appreciate it.